Hi my friends! Hi! Welcome to our channel, English with Alexander. And I'm so happy that I'm recording this great video. So you see 150 advanced English phrases, right, for speaking English fluently. Okay, do you want to speak like a native speaker? Okay, if so, this video is for you. Okay, you can put a like if you really like this video. So we have these phrases and examples. Great. So very important information. Okay? For more practice, you can listen and repeat. As for me, I really like it. In my opinion, it's the best decision. In my view, this method really works. From my point of view, it's the most important thing. Firstly, I'd like to tell you the following. First of all, we need to analyze it. Secondly, it can help you in your career. Finally, I'd like to say it was a great experience. In the end, I want to thank you for everything. In conclusion, I'd like to say that it wasn't a waste of time at all. To sum up, it was something unforgettable. In addition, it can have a positive effect on your health. In addition to it, we can't ignore other factors too. I believe one day this dream will come true. I firmly believe your hard work will lead you to success. I tend to think we can develop our talents and skills greatly. It seems to me nothing can stop us if we really want it. It appears to me this method is ineffective. I'm convinced everyone can learn English for free. I'm totally convinced is the only right way. I'm absolutely convinced free English lessons of supreme quality should be available for everyone. Shortly, I got that job. To be short, To be short, we discovered the whole truth. Briefly, it didn't live up to my expectations. To be brief, those conditions were far from being perfect. All in all, we managed to do it. All things considered, I find these words inappropriate. I'm inclined to believe that it's really worth doing. Interesting as it may seem, this thing doesn't exist. Surprising as it may seem, we all overpay. Amazing as it may seem, they didn't notice it. Strange as it may seem, it didn't happen. Fortunately, I remembered it. Unfortunately, I forgot to tell him that thing. Luckily, the test was very easy. I'd like to say that it's a complete waste of time. I'd like to mention that we've already discussed it. I'd like to add that it's an exception. I'd like to point out that you should be more careful with her. As far as I understand, they don't pay for it anymore. As far as I know, it's useless. It goes without saying that they're just using her. Interestingly enough, she made a couple of mistakes. I'm keen on music. I'm fond of sport. I thoroughly enjoy watching these lessons. To be more exact, I want much more practice. As I see it, we need to take some radical steps. I forgot to mention that it had already happened. As I was saying, it was getting unpopular. It's my belief. It's my belief everyone must have this opportunity. It's my firm belief. It's my firm belief it's our duty. I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. Definitely, you are right. I share your point of view. I share your point of view. We have much in common. I totally share your point of view. I totally share your point of view. Most people think so. I would say that it's false. There is no doubt that someone rules the company. As for something. As for English, it's quite easy to learn it. As far as I'm concerned, I often use the internet. As far as something is concerned, as far as my free time is concerned, I'm really so busy. We can't deny the fact that it isn't for everyone. There is no denying that. There is no denying that he has very influential relatives. It's no exaggeration to say that. It's no exaggeration to say that he is a real genius. I'm not entirely sure that we can do it better. For example, you put yourself in his place and think what you can do. For instance, we could spend more time on our health. In fact, it's an illusion. In reality, it was a complete nightmare. As I mentioned before, I had never wanted to do it. What I mean is that we need to work harder if we really want to achieve it. Obviously, it was a terrible mistake. Interestingly enough, his words contradicted his actions. Surprisingly, she arrived at the end of the party. Unsurprisingly, he got the maximum grade. Amazingly enough, she turned out to be right. However, we didn't follow his advice. Nevertheless, that barrier was still existing. It would be fair to say that it happened because of him. It would be unfair to say that. It would be unfair to say that he doesn't deserve it. To be honest. To be honest, it was against my will. Honestly. Honestly, I've never lied in my life. I have to say we get what we deserve. I have to tell you, we need to solve these problems somehow. I have to admit, I was greatly surprised by his words. On the one hand, it can bring you plenty of money. On the other hand, it can ruin your health. As a result, he got depressed. On the contrary, I'll double my efforts to achieve this aim. I'm not going to give up. I suppose it's typical of our generation. That may be true, but don't you think that we sometimes trust our modern mass media too much? It seems apparent to me that it wasn't his achievement. However, I'd also like to point out it doesn't work so. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is so. I think it's fair to say that they don't deserve it. Another thing that strikes me is that they are so arrogant. To put it mildly, he needs to continue working on it. To put it bluntly, he doesn't have all the necessary skills for it. Roughly speaking, it's his own problem. To put it shortly, he refused to help us. To put it briefly, I showed an average result. To cut a long story short, I was forced to do it. On the whole, it's a brilliant idea. It strikes me that most people fail to notice it. I can't figure out how it works. So weighing up the pros and cons, I mostly associate it with something negative. As you might guess. As you might guess, I'd like to be in a better shape. As you may have already guessed. As you may have already guessed, it spoiled my plans. I agree with it to a certain extent. I agree with it to a certain extent. I have something to tell you. I agree with it to a certain point. I agree with it to a certain point. It can't be true for 100%. I partly agree with you. I partly agree with you. There are some other things to be considered. Moreover, it requires additional efforts. More than that, they use their power to pursue their selfish interests. In other words, it's up to us. To put it another way, she let me down very badly. Generally speaking, I was full of positive emotions. I'm particularly keen on reading in English. I stick to the point that we all have different talents. It might well sound unbelievable. But I managed to do it. It's absolutely amazing that we have such a unique opportunity. It's absolutely fantastic that we live in the era of high tech. Last but not least, you're a very good friend. There is one more thing to say. There is nothing bad about that. I perfectly realize I'll be able to achieve it one day. I'd really like to say that it's worthwhile. I'd like to mention that they see the world in rosy colors. I'd really like to point out I often face these kind of problems. I do realize it's virtually impossible. I do think they are in danger. I do understand she's lying to us. I do know it must happen. I'd like to emphasize that such things mustn't be ignored. I do agree with you. Time flies. I'd like to draw your attention to the fact I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that you don't have to pay for it. Personally, I find it extremely useful. To be frank, it happened because of her. Frankly speaking, I'm not ready for it right now. Frankly speaking, I've always wanted to do it. My opinion is that it's his personal choice. My idea is that we need to check it one more time. I have no doubt that's true. I'm certain I'll never repeat this mistake. I'm absolutely certain we are on the right track. I agree with the statement that we should have equal rights. I would say it isn't fair. If you ask my opinion, they play against the rules. Let me express my opinion. I really have to tell you this thing. It's highly unlikely that it'll happen. Overall, it was our mutual achievement. By and large, I can't imagine my life without it. Okay, my friends, you see, actually, it was a great idea to record this absolutely amazing video. Yeah, I'm totally convinced, that it is so. And, I prepared just a little bonus, especially for you, some more phrases, but, the main difference is that they are in context, okay? Just, a little bonus for you, if you don't mind, okay? So, you see, and some more phrases in the context, very useful phrases for advanced speakers, okay? Good. Are you ready to start? I hope so. So, I'm a great believer in the idea that our life is too short to spend it in vain. You have to agree. All people are amazing, and clearly enough, everyone can do good things no matter where they are. I wouldn't like to sound absolutely ridiculous, but I have to point out that we should be moved by true love, pity, compassion, and other basic human values. I am 100% certain if we do more good things, our world will be a much better place to live in. Okay, my friends, thank you. So you see that it's very easy to use different phrases in context, and you can do the same. And I also have one more recommendation especially for you. So maybe you use very common phrases such as I think. Just try to say, so in my opinion, instead of I think, in my opinion, or in my view, or from my point of view. So I think that it will be great if you actually, write down this list of phrases, so with examples or without examples, and so you'll speak English, maybe with your friends or maybe to yourself, so it makes no difference, and you'll use these great phrases from time to time, really. So I can tell you, my friends, from my experience, that I often see that people talk about good phrases, for intermediate English speakers or maybe advanced, but in fact these phrases aren't used, they aren't so common. But if you really want to master your speaking skills and speak like an educated native speaker, so these phrases are for you. You just need actually to refresh your memory, have a look at these phrases one more time, watch this video again, maybe one time, maybe 2 times. Don't forget to put a like, yeah, and start using these phrases. So the more phrases you use, actually, the more benefits you have. I mean that, okay, just imagine it. So you'll start using some phrases like I'm totally convinced. If you start using it in your daily English conversation, these phrases like I'm totally convinced, I'm absolutely convinced, okay, people think, oh, he knows English perfectly. He uses such great phrases. And really, actually, these phrases are great, but you don't need to be a genius actually to remember it. Yeah, maybe not immediately, not now, but let's say in a week or in a month, and start using these phrases, and you see you'll enrich your vocabulary a lot. Okay, my friends, really, you'll boost your speaking skills unbelievably greatly, my friends. Thank you. And yeah, Alexander was with you. Thank you, my friends, and welcome to my channel. Have a look at other videos too. You see that I'm trying to do my best, yeah, actually, to provide you with the most, useful lessons possible of supreme quality, and I'm totally convinced they should be for free, my friends. Yeah, you should learn English for free, and these lessons should be free. Thank you, my friends. Good luck. Bye bye.